Hi friends, my name is Maylin and welcome back to my channel. I'm a flutist, music teacher, and performer currently located in the city of Toronto, Canada, and this is my newest series where we're going to learn about different aspects and technique of playing the flute. So thank you so much for joining me here today. As always, if you do have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section down below and I'll be sure to answer them as soon as possible. And also, if you are having any issues when it comes to practicing, feel free to check out my free practice guide, also located in the description down below. It gives you 8 really easy steps to follow to help you organize your practice sessions properly. And also it's a printable PDF so that you can bring it wherever you want to bring it with you. So thank you again for watching, and of course if you do like the video, feel free to press the like just so that I know that you're liking the videos, this new format of videos that I'll be doing, and then also to click subscribe for more videos just like this, and then also to click the bell notification button so that you don't miss them when they come out. So just so that you all know in advance, this is going to be a 6-part series. So this one is going to be about tone, and then I'm going to talk about things like articulation, etudes and studies, and things like that. So I'm really excited about starting this new series, and I hope you enjoy it too. So let's talk about tone. So first of all, we want to figure out what tone is and what defines a good tone. So generally, when we play the flute, we want to have a very beautiful, full sound with a lot of resonance. So as we begin, it's important to listen to a lot of the professional players, because then you can get an idea of what a good tone sounds like. So one of my favorite flutists when it comes to sound, of course, is Jasmine Choi. I would highly recommend listening to any of her music. She's here on YouTube. I'll link her her profile here actually in the little annotation. She's absolutely amazing. One of my favorite songs that she has is the Yurima for You. It's absolutely beautiful, and you can hear how she plays with her faster stuff as well. So that is one of my favorite flutists. Also Kelly Zemba, who's part of the Toronto Symphony Orchestra. I love her tone as well. It's so rich and beautiful and effortless sounding. I'm not sure if she has any videos on YouTube, but you can definitely take a look just by looking at her up. Absolutely amazing. So it's important that you find recordings of people that you really enjoy listening to. So you can just go onto YouTube and even look up famous flutists or some famous flute concertos and things like that to start listening to the sound. Everyone has a different tone. There's a few things that come into factor when you are looking at tone. So the first thing, of course, is going to be you. So your own skill level. The important thing when you're looking at tone is to make sure that you have a lot of air that's focused going into the instrument. So making sure that you have really good breath support. So every single time that you take a breath, it's really nice and beautiful and deep and relaxed. It should be just like a yawn. But as you practice, it slowly becomes faster and faster. So that's how we get a good breath, so we can get good tone. Also, like I mentioned before, focusing the air into the instrument is very important. So for some players, generally when we start, I always tell my students to line up the embouchure hole with the first key, just so it's easier for everyone to put the instrument together. However, as you start to develop your tone, you might want to experiment with moving your head joint around. So maybe rolling it out a little bit or rolling it in a little bit, so that you can see how the air is able to go into the instrument more. So for me, when I was studying with Kelly Zemba last year, we actually realized that I have a better tone when I actually turn my head joint in a little bit. So it's all about experimenting and figuring out what sounds good to your ear and what you want to sound like, which is really great. Now let's go into how we practice getting good tone. So as a beginner, generally what I like to do is long tones. So a great book that you can get actually is the Trevor Wye practice book. So I have the book that's 1 to 6. So this has 6 different techniques that Mr. Wye has written. Again, you know this guy because I did his whole series of the beginner's book here. If we look at, I'm just going to show you what the first page here is in this big volume. So the first book, of course, is tone. That's why I'm talking about it today. Then we have technique, articulation, intonation, and vibrato. Then we have, oh my gosh, I can't read that backwards, breathing and scales. And then we have some advanced practice. So what I would highly recommend is, if you don't want to buy the whole book right away, just buy the tone book. So I think I'll see if I can link it somewhere down in the description so that you can find a way to purchase it. But one of my favorite ways, again, is long tones. So you can do this with any series of notes where you're comfortable. So Mr. Wye actually divides it into different registers. So we have the low register, the middle register, and then the high register in the tone book. So I'm just going to show you an example of one of his exercises right over here. So this is on page 7. So essentially what he has you doing here is he wants you to first hold a B. So a beautiful open B. So that would sound something like this. And just remember, a fermata means that you hold it for longer. This one, we're not going to really count it. We're only going to be really listening to the tone quality of what you're playing. So I'm going to start with that B. And then you can play it a few times just to experiment with what you think about your sound. So today, I feel like I want to really make it a little bit deeper because I feel like it's missing some of the richer undertones of the color. So what I did there is, at first I started with some vibrato, and what you can do is, if you don't have vibrato, that's totally alright. It's important just to focus on the quality of the tone. So at the end there, I actually dropped off the vibrato and just listen to the tone itself. So you can focus on that, and then once you're happy with that, try and remember what you did in order to get that specific tone. Again, focusing on the 3 different things, being your embouchure, your fingers, and then your breath. So usually it's when you are doing long tones, just focus on 2 things, the embouchure and your breath support. Those are going to be the things that you're really going to focus on. So once you get a B that you really, really like, then you can start going from that note and going down or up chromatically, meaning that you go down about half step for each note, and then experimenting with what needs to change in order to get a good tone. So here with the one that I have on the screen, it's so we have it B, that B that I just played, and it goes all the way down to the low C. So I'm just going to play the first 2 bars there, just so you can get an idea of what it sounds like. So now that I've played the B that I like, now I'm going to go into the exercise. So doing the same thing, taking a really beautiful deep breath before you start. Oh yeah, and you want to make sure that you are holding your breath, that you're not articulating between the 2 different notes. So you can really focus on what is changing in your embouchure and what has to change with your breath support. And so when I play that, I tend to take a break between every 2 bars or so, just so that I can really recoup and think about what I was playing and how I feel about what I sound like. So that's an example of going through that, and you can always do the same thing with the middle register and the higher register as well. So it's a different way of focusing in on your sound and how you can improve it. Again, experimenting with maybe moving your lips, moving your jaw, experimenting with how much air you're putting into the instrument. All these things can really help to develop your tone. And what's really important is that you practice a little bit every day. So even if it's only for 5 minutes, I find that the daily practice really helps to just get your body used to remembering how you're playing. So that's where I found I've got the most progress whenever I was able to practice just a little bit every single day. So that's again for the more beginner, and again you can also as you advance go into the higher registers and do the same sort of thing. You can add more notes if you don't want to just do 2, so you can go 3 notes, 4 notes, and then as your breath support also gets longer, then you can actually hold it for even longer than what I was doing before. Okay. If you find that that gets boring, because after a while it does get kind of boring, then you can actually do all sorts of different exercises with the same idea. So there's actually 2 books here by Philippe Bernold that I really, really like. So starting with La Technique d'Embouchure. It is in French, but he does have the English there. So Technique of the Embouchure is really great. And then he also recently released, I think a few years ago, yeah, 2017, Le Souffle, Le Son, hopefully I'm saying that right, The Wind and the Sound. So both of these books are really great. I would start off with this one. This is the first edition here. Well, actually it's the 4th edition technically of this book. And it has 218 exercises to master all the difficulties of the flute embouchure and acquire a good tone. Which is really great. It says it right there. So what I really like about this book, I'm just going to put up the first page here, maybe the first exercise for Vocalise number 1. What's really great is that you'll actually start to focus on different aspects of your technique as well. So again, it's the same idea, the same kind of playing. So I'll just play it for you here just so you can get what it sounds like. So 1, 2, 3. So what you're doing here is you have more melodic passages to work through, and he has these little ideas here with all the different key signatures, so both the majors and the minors underneath it, so that you can go through them all, and they're very beautiful. I love the way that they're written, and I would highly recommend trying some of these so that you don't get so bored with your tone exercise, because it can again seem very repetitive, and it gets a little bit boring for you to focus on that. So you can also do this, not if you don't want to buy another book, then you can actually do this with any of your repertoire as well. So even if it's a fast piece, just slow it down all the way and just really focus on the movement of your air, your embouchure, and your fingers when you're playing through some of the passages that you really, really love. So another technique that I like to do when it comes to getting a really, really great tone is something called harmonic. So I'm not going to go too deeply into exactly the scientific aspect of harmonics. All you need to know is that you have a root note, and then there are friendly frequencies. So for example, if you're to go to a acoustic piano or any kind of guitar with multiple strings, if you play some of the lower notes, what you'll actually realize is that some of the higher notes all the higher strings will start to vibrate. So that means that some of the wavelengths are friendly. Essentially what happens is that the lower frequencies actually have those higher frequencies, you just don't hear it. So the vibrations will actually go over to the strings that are the same in that same fundamental series, and it'll actually ring, which is really cool. So we can actually simulate that sort of thing on the flute. So what you're going to do is, all you're going to do is focus on one of the lowest note that you're comfortable with. So I'm going to do D for an example. That's what I like to do with my beginners to start. And you're not going to do any tonguing, and you're not going to you're not going to stop the air. All you're going to do is speed it up a little bit so that you can get 1 octave above. So starting on the low D, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to that higher D without again changing any of the fingerings, and just changing the air in my embouchure a little bit, and then going back down. So 3, 4. And then what you can do is you can actually go up even higher into the harmonic series. So I'm going to go up as high as I would for a beginner. But of course, if you want to experiment and try higher, then you could totally do that. And all you really want to focus on is how you're changing your air support and your embouchure. So again, not changing the fingerings at all, and not tonguing or breaking the airspeed. So 3, 4. So that's as high as I would go in the harmonic series for beginner, but of course you can go higher for more advanced people as well. Yeah, so this is a great way to incorporate the sound of the tone, because it'll help you with your tuning, and also kind of getting a root sound of where you want the higher notes to sound, because it's hard to get an idea of what they should sound like if you don't know how to get in tune. So what you can do is, when you are able to play those higher harmonics, so for example, So the third note in the harmonic series is an A. So what you can do is play the harmonic A, and then without changing your airspeed or stopping the air or tonguing it, switch over to the normal A fingering. You'll actually notice that it'll help you to open up your tone, because there's only one way that you can play the harmonic. And if you're not playing it properly, then it won't come out at all, which is really, really cool. So definitely feel free to experiment with that. And again, you can do it with different notes. So C sharp, you can do the same thing, or low C, or if you have the low B extension, the exact same thing. So just to recap today's video, we talked about what good tone is, what defines good tone. We talked about why we want to develop it, and how to develop it by listening to some pro players. We also worked on long tones, again mostly for beginners, using starting on different registers, the low mid, especially the low register, and then also about the harmonic series. So thank you so much again for joining me here today. In next week's video, we'll actually be learning about vibrato, which has been a requested video, so thank you for waiting for that one. And as always, if you do have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section down below. And again, if you do have any issues with practicing, feel free to check out my free practice guide, also located in the description down below. So thank you so much for watching everyone today, and as always, happy fluting!